This is Opdivo, a medication used to treat skin cancer, and it costs about $150,000 for 1 year of treatment. Opdivo is used for metastatic melanoma, a cancer of the skin that's affected about 100,000 people in the United States in 2022. Opdivo is sometimes given in combination with another medication, Yervoy. Yervoy costs about $120,000 per year. That means for patients with advanced skin cancer, they might be charged over $270,000 for 1 year of treatment. These two drugs are not outliers. Take a look at this list of common drugs used to fight advanced cancer, and you'll see that these medications are priced in the tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars for a single year of treatment. So why are cancer drugs so expensive? Let's talk about it in this video. Cancer is the leading cause of death worldwide, with 1.9 million new cases diagnosed in the United States alone. In 2022 alone, there were over 600,000 cancer-associated deaths. Even though that's a really high number, there's been significant progress made to fight cancer over the last several decades. For example, lung cancer rates peaked in the early 90s but have been dropping steadily ever since due to reductions in smoking and advances in early detection. One reason for the high cost of cancer drugs is the high cost of research and development. The goal of all potential cancer drugs in the U.S. is to get approval for use in patients by the Food and Drug Administration, or FDA. The road there, though, can be really long and tough. The earliest stages of drug approval begins with basic science research, what some people call the preclinical stage. At this stage, usually humans are not involved and drug research is done in a lab using cells or tissue or animal models, typically mice or rats. If data gathered at this stage look promising, then the potential drug goes to clinical trials. The pathway through clinical trials is also long and arduous. Clinical trials have multiple stages made up of 4 phases. Phase 1 is making sure that a drug is safe with use on a small number of humans. Phase 2 is figuring out the right dose to treat a specific disease. Phase 3 involves looking at whether the drug is effective when tested on lots of different people. Once you're through Phase 3, the FDA approves the drug and you can start getting it onto market and in front of doctors and patients. There's also a 4th phase afterwards, where the FDA requires monitoring for safety and adverse events in the wider market. At every step of the way, there's a possibility that the drug will fail, and somewhere between 10 to 20% of all drugs that start clinical trials become approved for patient use. That means somewhere around 80 to 90% of all drugs will fail. All in all, cancer drug development is slow and expensive, averaging 8 to 10 years and costing up to $1.3 billion in investment before anything is ever sold on the market. So one reason for cancer drugs to be expensive is that the price reflects some of the costs incurred during development. The second reason for why cancer drugs are expensive is that cancer drugs are essentially a monopoly. There is no true competition between different cancer drugs to lower their cost. Although we've made significant advances in our understanding of cancer, there's still much more to learn, and unfortunately many patients who receive a diagnosis of cancer, especially advanced metastatic cancer that's spread beyond the original organ, are not curable. As an example, the chances of someone surviving to 5 years with distant lung cancer is about 8%. For individuals with advanced cancer, cancer drugs provide some benefit in terms of extending life or improving quality of life, but most often do not cure the disease. Because it's rare for cancer drugs to cure advanced cancer, all available drugs for a given cancer are often eventually considered. As an example, if a certain advanced cancer has 4 available drugs as treatment options, the physician will choose which drug of the 4 to give at any given time, weighing treatment risks and benefits. These treatments will work for a period of time, usually on the order of months to a few years, but eventually the drug will stop working and the cancer will progress, requiring an alternative drug. Because cancer behaves this way, there is no competition between drugs for the same cancer, as all drugs are considered treatment options if they can potentially extend survival or quality of life for the patient. Because of this, each drug acts like its own monopoly, and prices can be set for whatever the patient or insurance company is willing to pay. To understand this, it can be helpful to compare drugs for treating cancer with drugs that treat infections like pneumonia. Some pneumonias are caused by bacteria and require an antibiotic for treatment. There are many antibiotics one could choose from, and all work reasonably well to get rid of the pneumonia. Because there are so many options for one curable disease, each antibiotic competes with one another, which drives the cost down. Cancer drugs are not like this because multiple drugs have the possibility of being used at some point during a patient's treatment course, and since all of them could be used, they can be equally expensive without competing against one another. This leads us to the third reason why cancer drugs are expensive. These drugs are expensive because of the seriousness of the disease. Now, I know that sounds really obvious, but stick with me. With the exception of some childhood cancers, blood cancers, and early stage cancers, most cancer is incurable when diagnosed late. This creates an incentive for both the patient and the doctor. For patients, going without treatment is simply not an option for obvious reasons. That means patients who are able to pay for cancer treatment will likely pay for treatment regardless of the degree of benefit, and even if the costs are astronomical and the benefit is marginal. One European study looked at 48 approved cancer drugs from 2009 to 2013 and found that altogether these drugs extended survival by an average of 2.7 months. Now, 2.7 months might be very meaningful for someone with end-stage cancer, and I want to emphasize that these are averages. Remember that $270,000 drug combination from earlier, Opdivo and Yervoy? Well, according to a recent study, taking these together extended overall survival by 3 years for patients with advanced skin cancer, compared with just taking one or the other. There are definitely plenty of examples where the high price of cancer drugs may be justified because of their overwhelming benefit, but that doesn't change the fact that the seriousness of cancer means patients are highly motivated to pay for drugs regardless of price and benefit, and that means creators of cancer drugs know that they have buyers for their product regardless of price or benefit. The seriousness of cancer also creates an incentive for doctors to keep treating. Because advanced cancer is a complex and often incurable illness with few alternatives, doctors will continue offering treatment even if treatment options are unaffordable or marginally beneficial. Doctors are generously compensated by insurance companies for treating cancer, and while we know from research that they do not offer treatments unless indicated, at least one study recently noted that physicians who were well compensated for treating cancers were also associated with prescribing more expensive cancer drugs for patients with advanced breast, colon, and lung cancers. These are 3 reasons for why cancer drugs are expensive. I want to mention that the actual price a patient might pay for a cancer drug is heavily influenced by the type of cancer, available treatment options, the type of insurance, the healthcare system, and numerous other factors. Drug costs are a complex and continuously evolving topic, and it's impossible to capture all the nuances in this video, but I hope that I was able to briefly summarize a few reasons why cancer drugs are expensive. So what can we do about these high prices? That's the topic for another video. Thanks for watching.